Zelda Gilroy, the smartest girl in the room, the city, and probably the world. She could understand everything. She could invent everything. She had a very strong will. But remember, we hadn't quite gotten into feminism yet. So even though she was the smartest girl, and really the only girl on television at the time who was allowed to really be brilliant, who didn't have to play dumb, who didn't have to really play second fiddle, but everything she wanted, but it was also part of the gestalt of the show. Everything she wanted for Dobie. She wanted him to run for the Senate. She wanted him to be class president. She wanted him to open his old store, and she would make it happen. She would be his campaign consultant. She would be, the business manager. She would do all the stuff, but he would, as we recognized at the time, no girls were being student body president. So it would have to be him, and she would be the power behind the throne. And because Max Schulman would write these totally crazy scripts, Maynard was always Dobie's best friend, and he was always a little wary of how smart Zelda was, and he called her squinty-eyed girl, and thinking that she was just a little too ambitious kind of by half. But Zelda really, really loved Dobie, really cared about him, and wanted him to be a real success. Not the way Thalia Meninger, who was played by Tuesday Weld, wanted. She just wanted him to make money so that she could have money. It was different with Zelda. She wanted Dobie to succeed. Dobie, on the other hand, just wanted to be a poet and really chase women. That was the life he wanted. Not to mention Maynard, who didn't want to work at all. So I loved Zelda. I still feel about her as though she is sort of my little sister. When I see her, I'm very proud of her, of how smart she was. And I think she was also very vulnerable. My very favorite episode of Dobie Gillis is an episode called Dobie, Dobie, Who's Got the Dobie? In that show, Zelda finally acquiesces to the fact that Dobie is going to prefer another girl. And she does a whole scene with him about how she wants him to be happy. He should just be with whoever it was. And she would just go home and eat a lonely bologna sandwich, which is still the way I refer to it as my friends. If they say, "Are you doing anything tonight?" I say, "No, I'm just going to stay home and eat a lonely bologna sandwich." But in the denouement of that show, they're in the malt shop, and he comes in with his new girlfriend and looks over, and Zelda is sitting at a table with kind of a bottle on the table, looks almost like a whiskey bottle. And she's wearing complete widow's weeds, a big black hat with a veil, all black. And she's just looking like the end of the world. So the girlfriend gets very upset. She doesn't want to be the person responsible for Zelda's being so sad. So Dobie goes over to Zelda, and he says, "Zelda, do you love me?" And she says, "You know I do, Poopsie. You know I love you." And he says, "Well, if you love me, you won't make my friend upset. You won't make me upset. You'll do something for me, won't you?" And she says, "You know I'd do anything for you." And he says, "Okay, then smile." So she smiles, a little tiny smile. He says, "Bigger." So her smile gets bigger. He says, "More. Give me more." Pretty soon she's smiling from ear to ear, and she says, "I'm cracking my face." And he says, "Now start to laugh." So she, little laugh. He says, "No, bigger laugh, bigger laugh." Bigger laugh. So pretty soon, of course, you know how laughing is. She gets laughing and hysterically laughing and reaches for the bottle, and it's the first time you see there's a poison sign on the bottle. And she takes the bottle to take a drink, and he says, "No!" Knocks it down. And it's probably the best developed comedy scene I've ever done in my life. The next day when Max Schulman saw the dailies, he came over to my dressing room and he said, "I haven't seen anyone that good since Marie Dressler." Now, Marie Dressler was a great comedic actress in, old films. So that was a major, major compliment.
So why did Zelda love Dobie?
propinquity. I mean, seriously, that I think was it. She'd called him a 10-thumbed idiot. But she was always very fond of him when she would, castigate him. And she just loved him. I mean, I think part of the whole idea of calling the first episode Love is a Science is that it isn't.